Sophie Cunningham went nuclear about what happened to Caitlin Clark on June 24th. She went on her podcast and told us exactly what she would have done if she'd seen it in real time. That alone should tell you where this story is going. Thomas punched Clark in the throat, kneed her in the groin, and walked away clean because the refs watched every bit of it and called nothing. And Cunningham's response to finding out was the kind of reaction the league absolutely did not want going public right now. Sophie said exactly what every fan was already screaming about Alyssa Thomas, about the Phoenix Mercury, and about the WNBA's officiating crew, and she did not hold back one word of it. Drop a comment below. What should the actual punishment have been? And should the refs from June 24th face any consequences at all?
Absolutely nothing about it.
Let's talk about what Sophie Cunningham actually after the dust settled, because she didn't send a tweet and move on. She pulled up her podcast and unloaded everything, with names attached, no diplomatic cushioning, no carefully worded non-answers about how she respects the process. She named Alyssa Thomas directly. She named the refs directly. And she kept going.
Teed up last time.
Cunningham came out and stated flat out that the WNBA refs are either blind or corrupt. Not as a question, not as a frustrated hypothetical, but as a plain statement, because from where she sat, watching what happened to Clark on June 24th, she couldn't find another explanation for how 3 separate plays against the same player go uncalled in the same game. That's not one bad whistle. That's a pattern. And Cunningham called it exactly that.
Sector.
And then she addressed what she would have done if she'd been on that floor and watched Thomas punch Clark in the throat in real time. Her answer left zero room for interpretation. Cunningham confirmed that she and her Mercury teammates didn't see the throat strike as it happened, but she didn't let that create any distance from her position. "I promise you," she said, "if we would have seen that happen, we would have had her back." No hedging, no softening, just a direct promise from someone who means it.
The poster, it's so bizarre.
But Cunningham didn't stop with Thomas as an individual, and that's what separates her reaction from a standard player complaint. She went after the Phoenix Mercury as an organization, framing it as a game plan, not a personal decision by one player who got carried away. Phoenix came into that game intending to get physical with Clark, and the refs let them operate that way from the opening minutes. Cunningham connected those two things and said so out loud.
It is a joke, and this player's on there. I'm one of them.
She also got into what she sees driving some of this, which is jealousy from veterans who've watched Clark come into the league and become the biggest name in it almost immediately. Cunningham described it as genuinely bizarre. The idea that established players or even people inside the league's own structure would resent Clark's visibility so much that it shapes how they treat her. "It is like she's jealous of her," Cunningham said, talking about the resentment she sees. "Or like thinks that because she's a bigger face than her, or like anyone in the WNBA's had, that she won't give her the platform. It's so weird. It's so bizarre." Active Fever players couldn't say any of that publicly without drawing a fine or a call from the league office, so they stayed measured. Cunningham didn't have that constraint, and she used the freedom completely. Her podcast episode spread faster than the game footage itself, which tells you exactly how many people were already thinking what she just said out loud, and were waiting for someone with actual credibility to say it. This isn't a new version of Sophie Cunningham. She didn't become Clark's defender the day she signed with Indiana. She was publicly backing Clark before they ever shared a locker room, when other veterans around the league were either staying quiet or going the opposite direction. And that context is what makes her podcast reaction land the way it did.
When you talk about the young girls that came in, Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, rookie class, really hyping up the league coming from college to the WNBA, what has that done for you and the buzz of this entire league?
I think it's so positive. I really do. I think it's a fun time to be a part of the W. I truly believe that. I think the skill and the talent has always been there, but now it's just the viewership. And so I give a big old clap to the rookie class. I think that's a lot to deal with when you're at that age and you have that many eyes on you. But I think they've done a great job in the league as well. I think the physicality and all that they're going to get used to, but I think especially Caitlin Clark, she's been killing it. And I'm a huge fan, and I never say that, but I think it's fun what she's doing.
Before Cunningham joined the Fever, she was already on record talking Clark up in interviews and on social media. Not in a vague, polite way, but specifically and directly, at a time when plenty of established players either ignored Clark's arrival or resented it. Cunningham saw what Clark was doing for the league's viewership and said so out loud. She also called out how bizarre it was that the league seemed reluctant to put Clark on promotional materials, including a 30th anniversary poster, despite Clark being the biggest draw women's basketball had seen in years. Cunningham read that as the league actively trying to suppress Clark's visibility, and she didn't stay quiet about it.
Quarter we go. They're trailing by 10. Keep an eye on her and JC Sheldon. Clark trying to back her down.
Clark is okay.
Sheldon, that was Clark, hitting her in the face. Clark is upset about that. Then everybody's upset about that. Marina Mabry comes in. She decks Clark, tempers flaring on both sides.
So when Cunningham joined the Fever and became Clark's actual teammate, the support didn't stay verbal. It moved on to the court. And the JC Sheldon situation is the clearest example of what that looked like in practice. Sheldon had a reputation for playing dirty, and eye-poking opponents was part of that reputation. When Sheldon matched up against Clark with Cunningham on the floor, Cunningham didn't just outplay her. She took the game directly at Sheldon in a way that sent a message to everyone watching, including Sheldon, about what the evening was going to cost her. Players around the league noticed that.
Sophie commits a hard foul on JC Sheldon. Again, as JC Sheldon is going up for a layup, Sophie bear hugs her and takes her to the ground. What I will say is Sophie did not grab her and throw her to the ground. She didn't body slam her. She didn't do anything, in my personal opinion. Maybe I'm biased here, but I'm gonna give you guys my straight up honest opinion on this. She bear hugged her, took her to the ground. Yes, it was intentional. It was absolutely intentional.
That's the thing about Cunningham's version of having someone's back. It's not a tweet or a podcast quote. It's a physical statement made in a game against a player with a history of targeting Clark, where Cunningham made the consequences of that targeting very clear. Words are easy. What Cunningham did against Sheldon required actually being on the floor and choosing to go there. And that track record is exactly why her podcast reaction to June 24th carries real weight. She wasn't some fan account going off after watching highlights. She wasn't a pundit without any skin in it. She'd been defending Clark publicly since before the Fever were even taken seriously as a contender, back when backing Clark wasn't the popular or politically safe position inside the league. She'd been doing it on the court against players who tested Clark physically. And she'd called out the league's own reluctance to put Clark front and center, which put her directly against the internal resentment narrative that was running through the veteran side of the league. Thomas punched Clark in the throat on June 24th, and the loudest response came from the one player who'd already spent years making her position on this completely clear. How many times can one player foul the same person in one game and walk away with 0 calls? Because on June 24th, Alyssa Thomas found out the answer is at least 3, and that's before you count the separate reckless closeout that didn't even make it into the post-game review.
Streaking to the basket, and here's what hustle players are all about. You got 3 Phoenix players around Caitlin Clark, and yeah, it's...
I mean, Caitlin to the ground, and ooh, that's a hand to the neck, and then Alyssa Thomas steps over her. See, that's the kind of stuff that can incite some future trouble.
Let's talk about the sequence, because the order matters here. Thomas doesn't commit one bad play and disappear into the game. She comes back. The throat strike lands first. With 6 minutes and 52 seconds left in the second quarter, Thomas's arm connects with Clark's neck, and the league's own post-game language described it as recklessly making contact with her fist to the throat area. Her fist to the throat. The refs are standing right there and not one whistle comes out. Then comes the knee to the groin. Clark's already absorbing the previous contact, and Thomas drives a knee into her. Again, the refs watch it happen in real time, and again, nothing gets called. Then Thomas steps over Clark, and that's the part that stops being accidental and starts being a statement. You don't step over someone by accident. That's a decision, a deliberate one, and the officials let it go without a word.
You got to give landing space when the player comes out.
But that's not all. Separate from everything Thomas did, a Mercury defender flies into Clark on a 3-point attempt with 0 control, lands directly in Clark's space, and Clark grabs her back immediately after coming down. That play never even got reviewed after the game. Clark had already been dealing with a back issue going in, so a reckless body landing on top of her during a shooting motion wasn't just dangerous in general. It was dangerous for that specific injury. Picture this. Clark exits in the third quarter having already dropped 19 points and 8 assists in just 20 minutes of play. She's on a run. The Fever are locked into a close game, and now their best player is on the bench because the refs couldn't find a whistle through 4 separate incidents against the same player. Phoenix wins 111-109. 2 points. Clark leaving the game in the third quarter of a 2-point loss isn't a footnote, it's the game. The refs didn't miss one play and have a bad night. They missed 4 separate incidents against the same player, all in real time, all visible on the live broadcast, and called 0 of them on the floor. The league then had to go back and watch tape after the final buzzer just to find what anyone watching from their couch could already see. That's not a crew that had a rough stretch. That's a crew that managed that game in a way that let Thomas operate without any consequences until it was already too late for the Fever to do anything about it. If June 24th were the first time Alyssa Thomas got physical with a star player and walked away clean, you could file it under bad officiating and move on. But Thomas has a trail, and it goes back years, and every single incident on that trail involves a player the league actually depends on.
Take another look here at the heavy contact. A little bit of a shoulder there. Not a little bit, a lot of a shoulder there for Alyssa Thomas.
Yeah, they're not going to look at this. They might.
It's gotten the fans here fired up.
Start with 2024. Thomas ran through Clark's entire body during a play, not attempting to play the ball at any point. Just a hard body check that stopped the play cold, and the refs called nothing. Clark absorbed it and kept going, and Thomas learned exactly what she needed to learn from that moment, that the whistle wasn't coming for her. Later in that same period, Thomas clocked Clark in the jaw. Again, nothing called. So she filed that away too.
The tip was clean by Thomas.
Look at that.
They banged knees after the Fisicali.
She has 21 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, and Fee is being helped back to the locker room. Let's go over to Angel Gray.
Yeah, I'm watching her walk through the tunnel right now. She is clearly...
Fast forward to the 2025 playoffs, and Thomas runs through Nafisa Collier with enough force to put Collier on the sideline with an ankle injury that's kept her out for nearly a year. Collier's still not back as of right now. One of the best players in the league, sidelined, and Thomas kept playing through the aftermath without any real consequence landing on her. Then there's Angel Reese. Thomas clotheslined her in 2025, the kind of contact that gets you thrown out of a pickup game at a public gym, let alone a professional league. Reese took it. Thomas stayed on the floor.
Any bump to the face. Oh gosh, it's got to be so tough. Cameron just with the wherewithal getting hit and still made the basket. That was super impressive.
And then there's Cameron Brink in Unrivaled, where Thomas went directly after Brink's already broken nose. Brink had a documented injury, everyone knew about it, and Thomas targeted the exact spot that was already damaged. That's not competing hard. That's choosing a specific point on someone's body and going after it. Here's where it gets interesting, because if you look at every name on that list, Clark, Collier, Reese, Brink, none of them are role players or bench pieces. Thomas doesn't rack up these plays against players nobody's watching. The pattern runs consistently through the league's biggest names, the ones with the most visibility, the ones whose absence actually changes outcomes.
Number one, you gotta call it. It's absolutely egregious and utterly disrespectful. And then number two, you're coming in here aware of what happened 2 nights ago, and that shit still happens? Absolutely unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable.
So when you line up the 2024 body check on Clark, the jaw shot, the Collier takeout, the Reese clothesline, the Brink nose play, and then the full June 24th sequence against Clark again, you're not looking at a player who competes physically. You're looking at a player who plays dirty and spent years learning that the consequences don't arrive. The one-game suspension the league handed down after June 24th is the first actual punishment Thomas received for any of it. 1 game. Fans pulled up the full list of incidents and did the math in real time, and the reaction wasn't disappointment or frustration. It was rage, because 1 game doesn't even cover a road trip, and Phoenix put her on the floor against Indiana knowing exactly what kind of player she is.
And the reckless closeout that they actually review, and the foot still comes down on top of the defender's foot that wasn't upgraded? Absolutely disrespectful. We have a generational talent and a WNBA superstar who had 2 cheap shots right there that weren't called. And I just say again, absolutely unacceptable.
1 game. The WNBA reviewed the June 24th footage, upgraded the throat contact to a flagrant 2 foul, and handed Alyssa Thomas a 1-game suspension, announced June 25th, served June 27th when Phoenix visited Toronto. That's what the league decided a fist to the throat was worth. 1 game against the Toronto Tempo. Fans did not move on by the next morning. The reaction spread across every platform and kept building, because the more people pulled up Thomas's full history, the less sense 1 game made to anybody. People weren't just calling for 5 or 7 games, though plenty did exactly that. Some called for a lifetime ban, and when you look at the list of players Thomas has put on the sideline or targeted with obvious intent across multiple seasons, that reaction isn't coming from nowhere. It's coming from people who did the math and got a number that doesn't equal 1.
She should be fired. Kathy Engelbert should be out the door. This is a joke. As opposed to sending a real statement, I'm talking 10 games, 20 games, a massive fine. They have handed down a 1-game suspension to Alyssa Thomas. This league is not serious at all.
Steph White and Fever leadership responded after the suspension dropped, and fans were watching closely to see whether Indiana pushed back hard or stayed diplomatic, because how the Fever handle this publicly affects how the league reads their posture going forward. The flagrant 2 designation itself tells you something the league probably didn't intend to say out loud. They're acknowledging the play was serious enough to warrant a suspension, but 1 game says they don't consider it serious enough to actually stop the behavior from happening again. Now let's talk about the refs, because Thomas getting 1 game is only half of what's making people furious. The suspension came from a post-game review, which means the officiating crew on the floor that night faced 0 accountability for watching a fist connect with a player's throat and keeping their whistles in their pockets. Thomas gets 1 game. The refs get nothing. Referee Angelica Suffren got called out by name specifically, with people pointing out that she appeared to look directly at the play and still took no action.
This is ridiculous. The league does not want to clean itself up. This league does not want to grow. This league does not want to further itself and better itself. Upon post-game review, the Phoenix Mercury's Alyssa Thomas had received a flagrant foul 2 penalty and 1-game suspension for recklessly making contact with her fist to the throat area of Indiana Fever Caitlin Clark.
And while all of that was happening on the floor, the same crew stopped the game to review Clark's follow-through on a 3-pointer to potentially call a hostile act on Clark herself. That detail spread fast because it captures exactly what people mean when they say Clark gets officiated differently than other stars. There's no public mechanism for the league to address officials who miss plays that obvious. The WNBA can suspend a player after reviewing tape, but the crew that managed that game walks away clean. And that's the part of this that doesn't have any resolution right now. The Thomas suspension closes the incident on paper. Everything underneath it stays exactly where it was.
And now, not only do they have the treatment for the last 3 years, and now they got last night, but even worse, the pathetic suspension makes this look even worse. It makes it look terrible. The league has no self-awareness whatsoever. It's crazy.
Clark, Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, Lexi Hull, and Cunningham are all locked in for 2026, and Indiana's building towards something real, with a very specific memory of how June 24th got managed, sitting right underneath all of it. Thomas serves his 1 game against Toronto, collects his $1,000 fine, and then what? The Fever remember, Clark remembers, and Cunningham, who just told the entire basketball world exactly what she thinks about Thomas and the refs who let her operate, she's not forgetting either. The league handed down its call. Now Indiana gets to make theirs on the court, with Clark, Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, Lexi Hull, and Cunningham all locked in and building toward a championship run in 2026. Drop a comment below. What should the actual punishment have been? And should the refs from June 24th face any consequences at all? And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications as we're bringing you all the action and top stories. Click the video on the screen, and we'll see you in the next one.